Your biggest financial headache can probably be summed up into 4 words: lack of disposable income. FHSA First Home Savings Account sounds like a dream come true. Tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, and up to $40,000 towards your first down payment. But for most middle-class Canadians wrestling with rising rent, student debt, and sky-high home prices, the national average hit $691,000 in May 2025. That promise quickly falls flat. Stick around and you'll discover the hidden catch that forces nearly 1/3 of first-time homebuyers to beg mom and dad for help, plus what the other 69% are left doing instead. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the FHSA feels like wearing a life jacket in a flood, and what you can do about it. Because most middle-income Canadians don't have $8,000 laying around in their sock drawer, 31% of them run to the bank of mom and dad for help, gifts averaging $115,000 on average. While the other 69% of people that don't receive that gift give up on their dream of home ownership, sink further into debt, continue to slash their budgets and costs, expenses, and turn into long-term renters.
Tonight, of the financial burden Canadians are carrying and the anxiety it's creating as higher interest rates and the cost of living stretch budgets.
Everybody keeps saying it's going to get better. How is it going to get better? Our economy is so that I work a full-time job. I make $21 an hour working 40 hours a week. I have no extra expenses, no bills out of my living.
And I am homeless.
I have one credit card that's max because I've lived off of it. But other than that,
$1,800 a month for rent.
I don't have cable.
Going live here on TikTok, so come on in.
I haven't had cable in 10
I'll give you a
years.
full tour of the car. We're gonna have some.
We have cell phones, but you know,
you can ask me some questions.
that's required to live on. But other than that, nothing extra. On paper, my bills are $2,701.
I generally consider myself a positive person.
My income is $2,710.
On the property and
do the math. $9 a month before I pay for food, gas,
luckier than a lot of other people, but
car repairs.
How is anyone existing in Canada? I feel trapped.
Any entertainment.
And
there's no money for
I
that.
just got a good job. I started in September, but even with that job,
and my car is dying.
40 grand a year. And
it's paid for, so I don't have car payments now that I'm going to replace.
Even on that job, I still can't. I can't buy anything. I can't afford the rent.
And I don't know how to do that on $9 a month. $9 to feed myself. $9 to buy a car. $9 for insurance. Yeah.
So what exactly is the FHSA? What does it mean? The First Home Savings Account is a government savings program that was designed to help Canadians save up for a down payment on a house. A person can contribute up to $8,000 per year to a lifetime maximum of $40,000. The two big selling points are that the contributions you make into this account are tax deductible, and any interest on your investment while it's in that account when you take it out is also not subject to tax. It combines the two best elements of the RRSP and TFSA into one account. It sounds great on paper, right? However, this is why the FHSA falls short for many middle-income Canadians. Number one, the savings cap is too low for today's housing prices.
The $40,000 FHSA cap might sound helpful on paper, but in most Canadian cities, it's simply not enough. In expensive markets like Vancouver, Toronto, and Victoria, the minimum down payment alone exceeds that limit before you even factor in closing costs or moving expenses. Mid-range cities such as Calgary, Halifax, and Montreal still require anywhere from 50 to 70% more than the FHSA allows, forcing buyers to dip into other savings accounts, TFSAs, or use the RRSP home buyers plan. According to our chart, Only in places like Edmonton and Winnipeg does the $40,000 cap come close to covering total upfront costs, including legal fees, inspections, and moving in. But even there, buyers must budget tightly and act fast in competitive markets. Bottom line, the FHSA is a partial tool, not a full solution, and first-time buyers across most of Canada will still be left chasing the gap.
Number 2, you need money in order to save money, of course. I think most people have a grasp on everybody saying, live within your means, right? And you shouldn't be expecting to buy a large house or live right in Vancouver or Toronto downtown 10 minutes from your work. Like, it's just not practical. Just like the Rolling Stones song, you can't always get what you want. However, what do those people do that can't afford to live close to where they work? And I'm talking hours away.
Teachers, people in the trades, and nurses, these people literally cannot afford a home near where they work at all. These are the people we depend on in our communities, and they can't even afford to live where they serve. Now we have teachers that have to drive hours just to get to their school to start teaching kids. Nurses working back-to-back shifts in packed hospitals, and then going back to their cramped apartments where they can barely afford the rent. Or maybe where they can barely afford the mortgage too.
They can't afford to live anywhere near their work. Like, their commute is 2-3 hours away. Like, does that sound reasonable? Like, we have to have some common sense. Middle-class Canadians are juggling everything, it seems. We have grocery increases, rent increases, transportation, utilities, clothing, childcare expenses, student loans, all of this. So how is someone expected to come up and contribute up to $8,000 annually, if they can, towards their FHSA with not a lot of wiggle room? There's not a lot of disposable income left. Now, we all know people that are bad with money, right? They just have bad financial money habits. It doesn't matter how much money you give them, they'll find a way to blow it or mismanage it. They hit the malls, they, do whatever. They buy too much coffee, expensive cars, you know the drill. But that's only part of the people. In fact, studies show that 30% of people admit to overspending and living beyond their means. That's true. That's totally a valid assumption for a lot of people to say, because I got a lot of this in the comments. There are, of course, people that do that. Let's say there's 10% that didn't report overspending, but they actually do it. That leaves 60% of people that are living within their means and are still having a hard time saving up for a home, dealing with the cost of living, because it has grown immensely in the last 20, 30, 40 years. And it's that remaining 50, 60% of people that are doing everything or almost everything right. They're watching their expenses. They're trying to make as much income as they can, being careful with their money, and they still can't get ahead. That's who I'm talking about in this video. The world that we live in now is a lot different than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago that our parents and our grandparents went through. And in order to get ahead, we have to adapt and change as well. So what I am saying is it is a fallacy and overgeneralization just to lump everybody into one category and say, oh, they're having trouble getting ahead. Well, they're living beyond their means.
Some people had absolutely no sympathy for this woman, telling her to stop crying, budget better, live within your means, work harder. People just had no sympathy. They felt that she makes a good wage, so she shouldn't be so broke. They assumed that she must be really bad with her money management. I spoke about some options she may have with her mortgage, being that I am a mortgage broker, and some felt I gave bad advice. At the end of the day, everyone's financial outlook on life is very different. So to paint everyone with the same brush just does not work.
I'm all for living within your means, right? And that works good, and that's great advice for anybody, but only works to a certain point. And after you've done all that, you don't eat out, you don't spend it on extravagant trips and stuff you don't need, and eventually you'll notice that the living within your means box, when it starts to get smaller and smaller, and you've cut back on everything you could possibly cut back in order to increase your disposable income, and you're not seeing any real results, you have to stop, pause, and look and say, what is actually going on here? You can go on to any AI program that you want and simply put in does the FHSA program disproportionately benefit the upper class? And is it not really effective at helping the middle class financially? And see what the answers are. Come back to me, because I know I'm right on this. And here's a great fact. Only 15% of lower middle income earners in Canada hit the halfway point of the FHSA program, while upper income earners, well, the percentage is a lot higher. And here's a chart for you. To further back up my claims, you'll see that in Canada, over the last 20 years, the length of time it takes for people to save up just for the down payment in cities, and not just the major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, but also common cities such as Calgary, Regina, Edmonton, all of these has pretty much doubled. It takes almost twice as long for people to be able to save up for that down payment.
There is no mathematical path for me to own a house. It's just not possible. In Toronto here, for example, if you take the average income and the average house price, it would take you 29 years to save up for a down payment. So, you know, if you're
for a down
payment, not to pay it off, forget paying it off. And so if you're a young woman who's got a biological clock, obviously, well, do the math. You know, you start off at, let's say you're 25. Well, you're going to be in your 50s before you can afford the average house. So how are you ever going to have kids?
I really loved one comment I got on my last video, so I want to share it with you. And it's, Canada began losing the battle the day it treated homes as investments rather than residential properties and places to live. I'm sure many people that are struggling to get a home and tackle it away from an investor feel this way, that they just want a place to live, and I'll always side with those people rather than investors. I'm not out to hurt investors and people wanting to make money, but my loyalty lies with people just trying to get in and buy a home. Hey, in case we haven't met, I'm Aaron, a 20-year corporate accountant and analyst living in Western Canada. I talk about personal finance, investing, and investment portfolios. I've been investing for a number of years now, and I think it's safe to say I know my stuff. I try to make it fun and entertaining, and I put my heart and soul into every video that I make. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, consider subscribing to my channel. Number 3, it doesn't address one of the main issues: affordability. The FHSA is a savings tool. It's not a housing solution. It doesn't build more homes, lower prices, or make mortgages easier to qualify for. It's like a savings coupon for a product that you still can't afford. Hey, we'll give you a coupon for that $2,000 Mercedes. We'll give you this savings coupon of 7%. Here you go. That doesn't help me at all. I still can't afford to buy the car.
Some will argue that the government's role isn't to cradle Canadians through every challenge, and on the surface, that seems fair. But here's the reality. We're already burdened with record-high taxes on virtually everything, so those dollars should either be cut or reinvested in solutions that matter. More importantly, Ottawa bears considerable responsibility for creating the very cost of living and housing crunch we face today, so it only makes sense for government to play a meaningful role in helping Canadians claw their way back to stability.
For many people, the savings programs are just out of reach, pretty much no matter how much they cut back, unless they're living in a cardboard box, drinking water and everything. Live below your means, and like I said, the box keeps getting smaller. So for first-time home buyers, it's like throwing them a life jacket when they're in a flood. Sure, it helps at times, maybe a small percentage, but it's not a long-term viable solution, in my opinion. A great YouTube channel, Established Context, said recently, and I quote, "The housing market has shifted from being a basic need to being treated as a financial asset over the years. Investors are buying single-family homes to rent them out, and starter homes just aren't being built anymore. Builders have now begun constructing larger homes in both Canada and the US because they make more profit, but this comes with a larger financial burden for the buyer." Just look at my channel, personal finance, investing, investment portfolios, how to pick a stock, etc. And I realized early on starting out, in order to be taken seriously, you have to not only look the part, but you have to have a professional setting, professional lighting, all of that. Nobody's gonna tune in and come watch a guy who, doesn't have any of that. nobody's going to take me seriously. Nobody's going to come and say, hey, Dave, Mike, get over here. There's this Aaron guy talking about how to pick stocks from a shed in his backyard. Come watch. It's just not practical. It's not common sense. So it's a part of life, right? Also, for those people that are having to run to the bank of mom and dad, 31% of them, what about the other 69%? Like I remember years ago, my parents helped out 20 years ago, 25 years ago with a down payment. But what if someone's parents refuse to do that because either they don't have the money, they're unable to retire, hit with the cost of living, or they want their children to stand on their own 2 feet? That sometimes happens, quite often actually. What is a young person or a first-time homebuyer supposed to do then if they don't have that extra resource to go to? For many middle-income earners, it's not savings that's the barrier. It's that homes and their prices are simply out of reach, no matter how much they save. Also, the FHSA does not curb asset inflations. So first-time homebuyers who are trying to buy up and save a home are trying to hit an ever-moving target as home values are continually increasing. This makes sense if you think about it. If you're struggling to save up for a home and it takes you 5, 7, 10 years to save up for that home, and you finally have the down payment, well, there's a good chance that that home's value would have appreciated. So you have to save up even more. As just $3,000 saved per year, you'd hit a 5% down payment in just under 6 years in St. John. But you need to save more than 2 decades to do the same in Vancouver or Toronto. Even Calgary and Halifax take closer to a decade of disciplined saving, making the FHSA's $8,000 annual cap feel out of reach for anyone without significant disposable income. Now, I don't know everything, obviously, but I do know this, that a lot of what people think and believe is based on their unique perspective and their current position. This applies to home ownership, lifestyles. This applies to so many different things. If people are at one end of the scale and they're doing well financially, they'll have a different perspective and opinion about government policy, say, than someone at the other end of the scale. Someone who is at one end of the scale already owns a home and has enjoyed capital appreciation equity in that home will have a very different opinion than someone at the other end of the scale who is trying to get into the home market. Their opinion about whether house prices should go up or down will be very different.
And while interest rates were lowered this week, the building industry believes faster approvals and fewer taxes and fees could spur construction.
We want to build more homes. Right now, we're finding it's impossible to deliver those homes at a cost that folks can afford. We need to change that into a possible equation, and that's the one that we're calling on the government to work with us on.
House prices in Canada have to come down, for sure. I like watching Ron Butler, the Angry Mortgage podcast. He's a mortgage specialist, and he even confirmed this, that Canada has a pricing problem. To use his example, if, say, we're trying to sell lawnmowers and we just got a whole lot in and we're trying to sell them, but the market isn't moving, isn't budging, and we're trying to sell them at $8,000 a pop, well, we're probably not selling any, or very much, you would hope not, because that is a pricing problem relative to people's income. Same thing with housing. Houses are currently overpriced relative to most people's incomes. Even people that recently got into the market, most of them, many of them, they can't afford it either, or they're just barely hanging on. I'll put up some stats on the FHSA if you're interested, and I want you to take a look at what is required also for the average down payment, how long it takes someone to save up for that down payment, because I can guarantee it's increased immensely over the years. It's not to hurt people's investments, it's to make everyday living for Canadians more affordable. Number 4, the delayed benefit. So the tax deduction that many middle income class Canadians will get from being able to deduct it from their income, well, that helps, but you'll notice that the savings probably won't be that large if you're earning a middle income salary. This is kind of true with the RRSP, that it really benefits high income earners, but not so much middle income earners because they're just in a lower tax bracket. So I know there will be those people that say, hey, it's something. Yeah, of course it helps, but it's not very ideal. A better scenario would be that maybe you get a tax credit on your first $1,000 contribution, or the government matches a person for the first $1,000. So a person contributes $1,000 into the savings program, the government matches you exactly $1,000. That actually would be a better solution, in my opinion. Now, I am in no way saying that the RRSP, TFSA, FHSA, that these are bad, horrible accounts and are completely useless. I am not saying that at all. I am saying that they seem somewhat outdated and have to be adjusted and updated to take into account the lack of disposable income and the rising cost of living. That we're in a different world than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that has to be taken into account. These accounts are helping some, like I've pointed out, but not everybody. As a quick disclaimer, I am many things, a corporate accountant, analyst, but I am not a financial advisor or a mortgage specialist. This information is for educational and informational purposes only, and you should always consult a professional for advice on your unique financial situation. So what can you do? Really, what can you do if you're earning and saving at a pace that keeps you decades away from home ownership? First, lean into automated savings. $100 to $300 a month. It seems small, right? But it quickly adds up. Think about canceling a subscription that you don't need or hardly use, or just anything. That's $50 right there. Go find another $50. Go find another $70, $60, $10. Just keep adding to it and automate it. Don't just save it and say, okay, I'll use it sometime. No, set it aside in an account and automate the savings so those instant savings go directly into that savings account. Put it into a TFSA or FHSA, or at least a high yield savings account. These small increment micro changes will add up over time. Next, hunt for low cost, low fee ETFs and index funds. These are great income earners to increase your wealth and have a very low expense management ratio. This is actually what I talk about on my channel. Beyond investing, focus on a side gig if you can. I know even $50 or $100 a month isn't much, but leverage and lean in towards your skill set. Whatever you have, there's something that you have that you know about that most people would want to learn or pay to learn, or create some sort of a digital product. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, just something, just to earn another 50, 100, 150 bucks a month. That helps out a lot, more than you think. The real test is manning up, not being dependent on government support, though I believe they should be, and taking control of your finances. So saying, this is my budget, I know my main expenses, I'm going to take charge of my situation. In case we haven't met, I'm Aaron, a 20-year corporate accountant and analyst living in Western Canada. I talk about personal finance, investing, and investment portfolios. I put my heart and my soul into every video that I make for a younger me. If this all sounds like something you'd be interested in, consider subscribing to my channel. Look at this chart here. These are the average contributions to the FHSA since the program started. You'll notice average contributions seem relatively positive in the 400,000s. However, you'll notice that a large percentage of people that are able to contribute towards this account are high income earners. In addition to this chart, people that earn between $53,000 to $106,000 per year are conveniently misrepresented and not contributing as much as high income earners. No surprise, with the average contribution being $3,900. And this is the average, probably skewed by those high income earners. If you're curious why RRSPs and TFSAs continue to widen Canada's wealth gap, check out this first video here. On the other hand, if you want to know if you should make an RRSP contribution or an extra mortgage payment on your house, check out this second video here.